Good morning. I'm saying good morning to no one right now. But they say if you click it, they will come. We shall see. Happy Monday morning to you. Man, first Monday of the new year. Gearing up for our Monday morning going deeper discussion, something that we have typically every week here on our Deeper Waters church page. What it is basically is just good morning, Cassie. Basically just a follow-up from Sunday's message, not a recap of the message, but taking some thought or idea from that message and drilling down a little deeper. That's actually what our life groups do as well. Through the week, our life groups meet, and they will take certain aspects of, good morning, Debbie, of Sunday's message and really drill down deeper on some stuff. So we give, some this level stuff on Sunday, and then life groups drill down a lot deeper, and we try to do that on our Monday morning going deeper videos. I'll tell you though, sometimes when I get on these live streams, I wonder, I really do wonder if it, what it's accomplishing, if anyone's getting it. Sometimes I think the way my brain works, I'm one of those like crazy out there folks whose ideas won't be really understood until I'm dead and gone, and then they'll be like, oh, now I get it. But anyway, thankful for those who can follow. Hey Rhonda, shut your mouth. How about that? Or shut your keyboard, or your, how do you say that? I don't know. I said step back, I didn't say jump off. There's a difference. So, yesterday we were in Timothy. I want to go to a different passage in Timothy. Just a real short one. It goes along with the same idea from Sunday. But before I do that, I want to ask you, do you remember being in high school and having pep rallies in high school? I've thought about this a lot. What was almost always the source or the reason for the pep rally is that somebody's sports team, your school sports team, was going to be playing another school's sports team, right? And either they were going to states or, going to a tournament or something. And the pep rally, the purpose of that was to get everybody hyped up about this game that's coming up, right? And it was always about how we're going to crush whoever, right? In my case, as a West Fairmont polar bear growing up, it was, we're going to crush the bees, right? And we'd have a big pep rally. Very rarely did you have a pep rally saying, we're going to be academically successful. You very rarely had a pep rally like that. I've wondered about that a lot. And I've concluded that the reason is because there's something in our DNA as humans that we do a lot better when we have somebody to fight. We are a lot easier to motivate when we have an enemy. We do a lot better when there's somebody that we can pour out our aggression and our frustration on. I mean, that is pep rally at its core, right? We have an enemy. We come together as a school to beat the enemy. Rarely was it we come together as a school to make everybody in the school successful. You very rarely had a pep rally like that. It was always, we got to crush them, beat them, be better than them. And that's just how human beings work. So with that in mind, I want to read real quick out of 1 Timothy chapter 2. So Paul finishes chapter 1. He's talking to them about being careful. There's people who are coming in who are getting you guys distracted about, getting you all worked up about unimportant stuff and getting your eyes off of the important stuff, which is love. That comes from, what does he say? Let's see. Love that comes from a pure heart, good conscience, and sincere faith, right? He's calling them back to that. Don't get caught up in all the controversies and all the stuff that people think they know they're talking about and they're not. They don't. And then in chapter 2, he says this: I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good and pleases God our Savior, who wants all people to be saved and to come to a knowledge of the truth. So he says, I want you to pray, first off, pray for kings and people in authority. Why? So that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good and it pleases God because he wants everyone to be saved and come to a knowledge of the truth. So notice when Paul brings them back away from controversies and, speculations and conspiracies and all the stuff, endless genealogies and all these myths and everything that people were focusing on, brings them back to the truth. It's all about love. It's all about the kingdom. Then he goes, all right, when you gather together, pray for those in authority. So that you can lead quiet and peaceful lives in godliness, and so that, through that, people can come to know Jesus. Wow. What he doesn't say is, when you come together, badmouth, bash, publicly, bash and voice your hatred for the political people that you are opposed to, right? He doesn't say rant about that and make that your focus. He doesn't do that. But it's very easy for us to fall into that, making the other side our enemy, because that's naturally what, as human beings, we do. Social media is set up to do that. I talked yesterday about the algorithms and the way they work, and it's pretty simple. So when you like something or share something or comment on something, there's a program that notes that. And so they build an algorithm around you, and the system figures out what you like, what you interact with, things that make you afraid or angry, or just what political side you're on and all that. And it forms this program, a little algorithm around you. And so what it does is it constantly feeds you stuff that it knows speaks to your assumptions and that you want to see and that you'll interact with. And so what happens is that we can get pigeonholed. Some people call it an echo chamber, where we think like that's all that we see is one side of a story. And so we get, if you're a conservative person, all you see is conservative stuff, how evil and terrible the liberals are and how great the conservatives are. And if you're a liberal-leaning person, Facebook figures that out, and so they feed you stuff that talk about how wonderful us liberals are and how terrible and hateful and bigoted those evil conservatives are. And you get into this, we have a tendency to get into this echo chamber, and it distorts our view of reality. I wanted to go into this yesterday in the sermon, but I didn't have time. It distorts our view of reality to the point that we the lines between what's the kingdom and what's our political views that have been fed into us through social media get blurred. And we start slapping the label of Jesus onto stuff that's not about Jesus. Jesus calls us up much, much higher to a different place altogether. So Paul says, instead of making people your enemy, political people or the other side or those people over there, instead of making them your enemy, he says pray for them so that you can live peaceful, godly lives. And then there's a little clue in the next verse as to why. Because God wants everybody to be saved. And that gives us insight into the real enemy. The real enemy is Satan, right? It's the principalities and powers, back to Ephesians 6, where we're going to be jumping back in real soon. That's where even in Ephesians 6, Paul says, look, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against principalities, powers, spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. Right? He's always reminding us that you're not my enemy. Those people over there aren't my enemy. That guy making that decision isn't my enemy. We have one enemy. It's the enemy, the accuser of the brethren, right? The deceiver of the world, the prince of this world, Satan. And that is where our focus needs to be. Our call is not to divide ourselves up into a political camp, an echo chamber, where we're always pointing fingers at the people whose fault it is. Our call is to come up to the kingdom and invite everybody from all sides to come and to experience the love and the grace and the forgiveness that comes through knowing Jesus. And through that, to see God's heart fulfilled where he wants all to be saved. It reminds me of when Jesus was calling his 12 disciples. You got to know he did this on purpose. He got Simon the Zealot and Matthew the tax collector as part of his inner circle 12. Simon the Zealot would have been as far right as you could imagine. Matthew, the tax collector, would have been on the left side, and in the kingdom it meant nothing. They were both called to lay down their political views, their political priorities, and to take up kingdom priorities, and in so doing to draw in everybody from everywhere. So that's what I want to leave you with. I've already seen some comments coming, some affirmative comments, so that's really cool. But I would love to hear you unpack some deeper thoughts. I've sort of got the ball rolling, and maybe you have some more insights to share on that end. So anyway, guys, love you a bunch. Happy New Year! Have a great one. Have a great week. Looking forward to seeing your comments. If we don't see you this week, we'll see you Sunday. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, hanging out with me on Monday. It's funny how much just seeing your faces and your names there, Donna and Debbie and Kepper. I saw Jennifer and Rhonda and Cassie earlier. Really does uplift me and make my day. So thanks for hanging out. Love you guys, and see you when I see you. Bye-bye.